It's the holiday season, the holiday season. So here we go. It's on to the show. I'm done with that. I had nothing following up in that.
No, sorry. If you want some holiday music.
Wait, is it copyrighted?
Yeah. It might be public domain. All right, you know.
And this portion has been muted.
So anyway, this, by the way, is Tales from the Film Set. Jean-Paul Scott Churchson alongside Mr. Robert Leckington, Mr. J.T. McGuire, and, of course, Mr. Ryan O'Regan. And welcome to Tales from the Film Set on Spanglish World Network, Zingo TV, Channel 250. Kindly remember to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android devices. When you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Both apps are free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Doing all sorts of pointy things right now. I don't know why, because it's fun. Why not? So, as always, basically, this is Tales from the Film Set on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on basically
on Prancer, on Dancer, on Dixon, on Prickson,
on Comet and Cupid and Richard Nixon. Yeah, there we go. So we are, by the way, as you can see right down at the very bottom in the caption, we're going to be talking the new Spider-Man movie. As you may have heard, I'm not sure, there was a new Spider-Man movie that was released. It's through a company called Disney. They own something called Marvel, and we're going to break down the Spider-Man. And what? Screw this. Okay, let's get this.
You sound like the biggest boomer trying to describe this. I'm sorry.
I watched an episode of Parks and Rec the other day, and it was where there's like public radio. Dan Castellaneta was talking about, and basically what he's referring to is someone called the Batman, who was a costume crime fighter who battled crime in the night while wearing a cape. What we are going to do now. So I just decided, you know what, just for the heck of it, because I ad-lib 90% of what I say on the show, because fun, why not? We are breaking down Spider-Man No Way Home. Right up front, like I said, it is a full spoiler review. We put this right in there, so basically nobody's coming back and being like, you spoiled the ending, you piece of crap. No, it's in there.
If you haven't seen the movie yet, come back in like a half hour.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, basically, well, go see the movie. But if you have, here's the thing, if you haven't seen it and you don't care, that's okay. But I don't want somebody to come back and be like, I didn't know what happened and you spoiled it for me. Go eat death. It's Christmas. Come on now.
Be lucky we waited this long, to be honest.
Yeah. So anyway, how you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing well.
Obviously, for the most part, we're festive because Christmas is in a few days.
I'm trying, man. My hat won't stay up, So
I went searching around for a hat before the show began because Ryan was saying, like, remember, it's the Christmas episode. You got to be Christmassy. So I start looking around for stuff. I couldn't find anything. I found a nice sweater. I have a U-log behind me.
Hey, you got the log. I like it.
Hey, I'm the bottom of the tree.
Well, no, Rob, you've got the old blue background, so you're officially token Hanukkah section.
Thank you, brother.
I don't know. Do any of you guys besides me celebrate Hanukkah? I mean, whatever. But yeah. So anyway, like I said, Spider-Man. I'm going to probably let the guys on that side run with it because I know you guys have some very strong opinions here. I already know everything top to bottom. I deliberately was very nice to you guys and not told you guys anything that was going to happen, which ties in somewhat to Hawkeye in more than a couple of different ways. So of the three of you guys, whoever raises their hand first is going to go first. 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. Ryan, it is. Okay.
I thought you two were going to try at least,
I figured basically you guys would be able to respond. I figured it was going to be Ryan. Yeah. Ryan, take us away, man.
All right. Well, first of all, I have to make a correction on you because even though it was distributed by Disney, the film was made as a Sony film.
That is
Spider-Man is Sony, regardless of whether or not he's in the MCU. And this was, of course, Sony's biggest premiere ever. Globally, $600 million just for this movie alone in the past week. That is huge. And for this kind of movie, it was all right. The problem with this particular movie, and it doesn't necessarily need any problems with like the storytelling or the truck size loopholes that are within this whole multiversal thing that they're doing. But This movie was spoiled before there was even spoilers to talk about.
Mhm.
All of the leaks, all of the theories, all of the conversations all came to fruition. That to the point where I almost wasn't surprised by anything in the film. I'd say the only thing that I would say actually surprised me was the killing of Aunt May.
Mhm.
That I did
That
not
was-
think
yeah.
they were going to do, because Aunt May has just always been a constant, and there was already an Uncle Ben in that universe that kicked off.
Mm.
So I didn't think they had to go that route. But when you look at the film as a whole and you see that this is kind of like revisionist Spider-Man, this is pretty much getting us to almost there's 3 movies were almost like a very, very big origin story to the Spider-Man that now inhabits the MCU, living on his own. No one knows his name. Gonna go off on adventures that probably have nothing to do with Peter Parker whatsoever. I really didn't think they had to go that hard with the refresh. But when you see Aunt May just lying there and she gives the Uncle Ben line of great power, great responsibility,
Mhm.
and I was shook. I was like, no, they're not going to do this. They are not going to do this. And they did it. It's like, how many people around Peter Parker have to die? Really?
Well, here's the thing. In the comics, Aunt May did die on a few occasions, depending on the iteration.
Yeah,
And
but there was bits on them to bring her back, like the whole thing with Mephisto, which,
Mhm.
God forbid, there's no Mephisto yet.
give it time. I'm sure they'll get to Mephisto and Blackheart and the whole shebang there. Shumagorath may be possible as well.
Oh, that's coming in Doctor Strange too. We saw in the trailer.
That's true. Yeah, Shumagorath. I mean, yeah, it's like, where can we dig the archives from and be able to pull the next thing from? But in this case, with Aunt May dying, like I said, in the comics, she has died before. There was one really bad one where it's like, all along, I knew you were Spider-Man. And it was like just meant for shock value of her on her deathbed. And it's like, and it wasn't like anything where it's like, I lost, you lost your parents. I lost Ben. I didn't want to lose you too because, in this case, because of Spider-Man. It wasn't anything like that. It was just dropping bomb. By the way, Peter, you've always been good to me. I know you've been Spider-Man. And it was just like, what? Wait, what?
There's only so much you can do with a 60-year history. You start trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel.
I mean, the truth of it is you didn't need Aunt May anymore, especially with how this movie ended, and the way the entire storyline wrapped up, it made sense to kill her off. Now, again, this is a multiverse thing. Nobody is ever dead permanently. So I still stand by the belief that some way, somehow, some reason, Robert Downey Jr. will show up again as Tony Stark. I just see it happening somehow.
I see. Well, it's probably going to be the multiverse thing. So it'll be someone from a different multiverse. Other than the Infinity Stones, they have yet to really bring anyone back to life. So I think they're going to go the Hercules route.
That's the thing. There are no Infinity Stones. Pretty much Doctor Strange confirmed what happened in Endgame, that the ones from their particular reality were all destroyed by Thanos.
Nope.
So
there's Infinity Stones.
There are Infinity Stones from other dimensions, and there's obviously
Infinity Stones in that dimension.
Thing in Loki.
Mm-hmm.
But Doctor Strange said he does not have the Time Stone anymore because it was destroyed.
But there's still Infinity Stones. There's still Infinity Stones because the comic logic is that the Infinity Stones make up the universe, so they must always exist. So if Thanos destroyed them, they would have recreated themselves somewhere in the universe where no one knows where they are yet, but they exist.
Well, then that means they're nowhere near Earth, that's for sure.
Correct.
But where does it go from here is the question. I mean, before we go into anything else that's out there, as far as Doctor Strange and Venom, and all of the mid-credit stuff, the credit scenes, where does Spider-Man himself go from here?
Back to
helping Lady Hawkeye.
Yeah. Do we see him tomorrow suddenly pop up? Now that basically Hawkeye's already seen Vincent D'Onofrio.
So two things. If for the ending of Spider-Man No Way Home, first off, he's swinging by from his brand new apartment that he's paying by himself right near Rockefeller Center. Where can I get that deal? Where can I get that? We always
talk about that all the time, man. We always talk about the fact that these guys have pristine apartments and they're working. In this case, he's a freelance newspaper guy, or just something low end like that, where it's the requirement of anybody living in New York City, where something could look like it's $8 million. And it's like, well, but I have a really good job working as a waiter.
Sure.
I mean, you could get a roach infested bottom right right above a Chinese food restaurant in New York City, and that'll be $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
And that's in like that, and that's like in Bed-Stuy. It's not even like Manhattan.
Yeah.
Well, twin size, if that.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, he's probably not going to college anymore, so he's probably got a lot of money saved up.
Yeah, he's studying for his GED. That was in one of the last scenes. But then going to my second point there, as I tried to put my fingers properly on the camera, he is leaving his window and swinging past the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center, which we know is going to play a part in the finale of Hawkeye. So either they put that in there to fake us out, or something may happen tomorrow.
Well, I think we've established this already, that the events of Hawkeye happened 2 years after the events of Endgame, whereas all things Spider-Man should have finished before that.
But there was kind of a time jump there, so we don't know how much time passed between all the other stuff.
Well, I mean, considering how decimated the Statue of Liberty ends up at the climax of the movie, and by the time Hawkeye is going on, it's all erect. It's all set. People are visiting it. So I imagine at least a year between one to the other.
Well, they're a superpowered world, so they could probably do it in 6 months.
Yeah, go get the Hulk and just like have him do some masonry work.
And remember, from the beginning of Spider-Man to probably 10, 15 minutes in, there's another time jump there where they're going through all the legalities and how famous he is now and et cetera, et cetera. So there is a potential that they caught up everything within the movie.
I'm sure they're going to, I don't know. They're either setting it. Here's my question as far as Hawkeye goes. You know, the last couple of series on Disney Plus, it's been one of those things where you have this build up for a letdown. You hope for a cameo, don't get it. Hawkeye had a small one last week with Vincent D'Onofrio as
in a picture.
What's that?
In a picture.
Well, yeah, but to show that he's part of the universe, and obviously it is because Daredevil made an appearance in the new Spider-Man movie anyway. So they're starting to tie things together a little bit more. But my question is, if there is no finale tomorrow that has something mind-blowing like we're used to in this case, will fans be disappointed with Hawkeye?
It sounds like they're already kind of disappointed with Hawkeye.
I even hated it. Listen, if you're nerdrotic, you hate everything. So, you know, that's just how he rolls.
Personally, I wouldn't be upset because really nothing about Spider-Man at all has connected to this series. So, I mean, I would almost be upset that they have to like shoehorn him in order to like grab eyes onto the show. Whereas just tell the story that you've been telling this for the last 5 episodes, conclude it properly. You know, if this is going to be Renner's swan song out of the MCU, give him the spotlight that's necessary.
What if this is the build up to New Avengers or is it New Avengers? Young Avengers. What if this is the build up to like Young Avengers? Justice.
Right. Which obviously also could potentially include Spider-Man at one point, because there are many places that have said that one person or another in the MCU or in Marvel has said Spider-Man is the leader of Avengers, or Spider-Man is pretty much the new Iron Man. And I'm like, is he though?
No one remembers who he is now.
Yeah.
So that status may change a bit.
Like, I can't imagine anyone going ahead and trusting someone when they don't even know who the person is behind the mask.
Right. But Tom Holland,
I don't think he would be in charge of the Avengers, but if they make the subgroup Young Avengers, which would then be him and Kate Bishop and Miss Marvel, and who else have they promoted anyone else recently that would be?
Well, obviously there's the whole thing with Wiccan and Speed from WandaVision. Well, that's been teased. So obviously, if they do show up in Multiverse of Madness, expect them to stick around. Then the only other ones after that would be Hulkling, which I don't know if they're going to bring that in anytime soon. Maybe it might have something to do with She-Hulk, but I don't see that happening. And then Patriot, who's basically just young fan of Steve Rogers, which I don't think they're really going to do that because they already have a new Captain America.
Yeah, who basically, as soon as he had the job, was like, "Here, give it back." You know, like episode 1, it's
Never
like,
mind.
You know, hands it off. What's the first thing he does? He's like, "Nope, I'm okay." You know.
All right, but more Marvel spoilers and future stuff aside, the movie itself. What did everyone else think of it?
I liked it. I mean, listen, it's kind of what I expected from it. You know, again, like you said, you had all the buildup. It was really, to me, more of the will they, won't they with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. You know, I think at this point, the way that buildup was, I think fans were expecting it, happy to see it, but would have been more pissed if he didn't show up than happy that they did. If that makes sense.
I think they were very excited that they showed up, because from even the screening I saw, like the crowd just went wild when they showed up on screen.
Let me rephrase that. I think because there was so much hype for it, that the happiness would have been like from here to here, yay. But if they didn't have it, it would have been like pissed off from here to like here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of going with there, because
it's a little bit different than like other times when we're given certain spoilers, because we are in the know. We listen to certain channels. We read certain things that keep us within like the movie business spectrum. But your typical lay fan isn't going to necessarily follow that stuff. And yet, even then, they still heard about the potential of Maguire and Garfield coming into the movie simply because of the villains that were being portrayed as well. So it's one of those things where it reached expectations and satisfied. I personally just wish they had gone beyond Maguire and Garfield and gone more Spider-Verse-y with it. We saw that little bit of a hint of all the different villains out in those purple shattered areas. We saw a Rhino, we saw a Kraven, we saw a Scorpion, we saw a Black Cat, but it was all silhouettes. Come on!
Tony, can we use more Spider-Man characters? No.
Give it to
only we can use them. Maybe just just give me a Morpheus. No.
Well, this is the thing. You can't give it all away at once. You got to, you got to make people work for it a little bit, and that's where, like I said, you give a little bit of a tease, you get them excited, you get them fired up, and then you kind of trickle in more as you go. So I'm fine personally with the fact that it was just the three of them, because if you have the three of them plus Miles Morales, plus Ben, plus all these other characters that are out there, it becomes too much. So
it does, but it would have been nice to do sort of an end game thing where everyone kind of showed up at the end and had their little spot.
They will.
Yeah, it just kills me that we have this whole like Spider-Verse, multiverse sort of thing, and yet we only saw 2 extra universes.
Well, maybe what Scott is trying to say, maybe when they do get to the next Avengers where they are facing off against Kang and have to fight him back, that's when Spider-Man saves the day because the Spider-Verse comes into play.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, I hope this means that we will get a Miles Morales, a live-action version. Lord knows Jamie Foxx's character kind of hinted at a Black Spider-Man.
I think Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse and the sequel that's coming out in the near future, I forget what the name of it is proving that Miles Morales is a very popular version of Spider-Man. Yeah. So I would think it'd be crazy not to put him into like an Avengers type movie in the future. For my own personal thoughts though on the film, I've only seen it once so far, and I actually had Amazing Spider-Man 2 vibes from it. And what I mean by that is when I went to Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, so many freaking Spider-Man films, it gets confusing after a while, all these damn titles. I loved that film, and then as time went on, I kind of realized it was very, very flawed. I went into this film watching it and feeling kind of the opposite. I felt this one, it started off very strong. It was good for the first hour or so. And then I feel once the extra Spider-Man came in, it kind of started to get maybe a little cheesy and a little fanfiction-y with the writing. Like everyone made the stupid joke about like, what's Tobey Maguire going to say about his webbing? And then they actually added that in for like a 1 to 2 minute of scene in the film. Or like, hey, we're just waiting around for the bad guys. Can you crack my back while we're waiting? Like, it's kind of interesting to watch, but at the same time, it's like, what are you doing here?
A little forced in some ways after a while. Well, once you had that reveal that they were there, great. Now what do you do? But
I feel like the right
something that was going on throughout the whole of the movie, it would have been one thing. But now you're just compiling it into like this 30 minutes.
Well, it's annoying when you're watching like all this time being like the first half of it was rushed by, and I didn't like the writing there too. I felt a lot of the writing there was very wonky. So you're speeding through this, and then you slow down, and then speed right back up the end. Also, I hated the ending. I didn't like the
which
idea.
ending exactly?
Yeah,
I don't like the idea of like, okay, no one knows who Spider-Man is now. And I think they thought, oh, we could go so many places with this in the future. It's like, no, you just wiped from the board everything we've learned from the last few Spider-Man films and Avengers Endgame. I'm annoyed now because you tried to. It's a recon to a degree, and I don't. It's like you got sloppy with the writing. You did a recon because you knew you put Spider-Man in a position they normally shouldn't be in, but because he's an alternate universe Spider-Man, I actually kind of liked him being like the Iron Man and having access to Stark Industry equipment and etc. Now you changed it so that his aunt is dead, his uncle's dead, he has no family, his friends don't remember who he is completely alone.
I didn't hate that part of it.
Now he sounds like a typical Spider-Man, though. That's the thing. It's like
he does, but
I know what you're saying. It was nice
like a typical Spider-Man is someone in his mid-20s, though. By that point, he's still like in his early teens as far as the movies are concerned. Like, so he's a teen on his own who's never lived by himself before, and he has no one to fall back on.
He can go to wrestling.
Yeah, well, let's see what this universe's Bonesaw looks like.
There you go. So
I'm guessing John Cena.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think they can get Randy Savage back.
No, versus Hart. So, all right. So, Mr. Leckington has been remarkably quiet, remarkably patient, donning the blue screen
for all of us geeky ones on the panel.
Yeah, I was going to say donning the blue screen of Rob, as I'm calling it. By the way,
as he pets his blue screen.
It's very nice. Yes. There's supposedly, by the way, Restream has some way to do a green screen right now. I haven't done the requisite homework, but I got an email yesterday. So I will be looking into that a little bit more detail. It might work with a blue screen too. I don't know. But
well, that would be cool either way, because I could switch this around and make it green, because this is what I use for my auditions and things like that. So
okay,
it's a perfect screen to do whatever.
Well, speaking of that, I figure that's as good a segue as any. You had an assignment from your acting coach recently.
Yeah.
You had a little bit of an assignment, nothing bad. Hold on a second.
I have an 11-page script that I have never actually done as many pages as this particular coach is expecting me to learn. So it'll be quite the task to figure out how I'm going to not only memorize the script itself, but how to tackle it, that kind of thing, because when it's 1 or 2 pages, it's fairly easy to, go through. But in my case, I feel like I have to go out and get some kind of ginkgo biloba or something, to help my brain sort of focus and, but that's
Red Bull and Black Death.
There you go.
See one of the things with his.
Now, yes. I'll be up for 4 days straight.
So you have an 11-page scene you have to do. So my question to you is, why did they assign this, and what is it going to be on?
Well, all right. So this coming year, for 2022, my acting coach he's wanting to do some showcases and things like that. So this particular scene was picked out for me probably, I don't know, a couple months ago, 3-4 months ago, something like that. But during that time, I've kind of been back and forth with it. I've read it a few times, but in this particular scene, not only do I have to memorize the lines, but he's a guy who's a manic depressive going crazy. So, I mean, how am I going to research that?
So upbeat material there.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's going to be quite the thing, because there's so much to this particular scene that I not only do I have to memorize the lines, like I say, but I'm going to have to know how to emote.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be fun, I think. But again, he wants to do these showcases and things like that. So it's not something that's due right away or anything like that. I've been asked, but it's going to take a little while for me to at least get through half of that. So we'll see how that works out. He comes back he's taking a trip to the UK for Christmas, and we're not going to class this week, but by the start of the next week, the following week, should have at least some of it memorized.
All right. So, and then basically you're going to have to sit there on stage and do the whole thing and be like, fourscore and several years ago.
Oh, trust me, man. This particular coach, if you can't learn a Shakespeare monologue, he's the kind of guy that, like, he wants you to learn the craft of acting from Shakespeare point of view at first, and then you build from there, because it's a solid foundation when you're working with the Shakespeare monologue or scene or whatever.
Is he a British actor by nature?
No. Okay. Thomas Waits. He's came recommended from another coach I had, Vinny Pastore.
Oh yeah, Vinny. Okay.
Vinny took classes from Thomas Waits when he was first acting, when he started acting. So
you're acting brothers in this case, you and Vinny.
Pretty much. I mean, Vinny's a really cool guy. We've chatted up a few times about certain things when it comes to certain scenes, and he's really knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about. So, but when he said you need to see Tom Waits, I was like, you mean the singer? But no, yeah, Tom is an actor himself, can't even talk. So he knows, he knows what's going on. He knows how to poke you in the right spots and get you.
Well, if I can offer some help as far as the manic depressive stuff. Now, obviously, that's going to require you to go large, very big with it.
Of course.
And some would say overacted a certain amount. But in that sense, you kind of want to go above and beyond, because you never want to go ahead and try to normalize it. You don't want to try to hold it back, because then they're just going to say that it falls flat.
Right.
Better to go above and beyond and go extreme with something like that and have them dial you back than tell you to go up.
Connect. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. But to connect with that character, you have to be that person. It's one thing to overact.
Oh, just watch me and Scott anytime. I mean, I'd say we have that down packed.
I'll let you guys roll. I'll be right back.
But yeah, no, I totally think I have at least some of it down. It's just the repetition to learn those lines is going to be tough. That's why I was saying that this app that I use might be able to help me, but 11 pages, that's a lot.
Maybe it's just to break it down page by page and just practice little by little until you build it up.
Right. No, that was another thing that a friend of mine, another actor friend of mine, was telling me, that, just do it page by page. And, at some point, the interaction between my character and my character's wife, there's not a lot of dialogue. There are certain spots where there is, not like long monologues or anything like that. So, but the interaction, I think, once I get to the point where I feel like I'm connecting with my wife in that way, is just, it should come a lot easier. But, for me, I know that I'm more focused on the words usually in the beginning, because I want to at least, get it down. But with Tom, everything's organic, at least if you're conveying the message versus what was actually said, kind of thing, in the script. He likes that. He wants you to be off book, which, that's. Mm-hmm. And we have, I have classmates that are really good with that. I mean, they can just learn lines and, be off book within a week, and, any number of pages that you could think of. I mean, they're totally great like that. But for me, my brain doesn't work that way. I have to work at it. So
that's something I can more than understand. I struggle with your names half the time, let alone an 11-page script or one. I struggle with 11 words. As a kid, I used to be really good. And then lately, all of a sudden, the last 5-10 years, I've just struggled with one line memorizing it. I am so much better at ad-libbing than I am with actual fixed dialogue.
Right.
Yeah. What always amazes me, and not maybe some people don't consider it acting, but since two people here used to do stage work, comedians, stand-up comedians who would do a 1-hour show, very obviously that's not really just off the top of their head. That's an act that they've put together and worked on for months to years. Right. And to go out there and know I'm going from here to here over a period of an hour.
Oh yeah. And a lot of that is repetition too. If you look at anybody when they're on the road or they're touring around before that 1-hour special happens, if you're someone that's seeing them every night, you see that they're going through the same jokes, the same setups, the same groupings, time after time after time, altering it here and there a little bit to see what works with certain audiences and what doesn't. It's all pretty much, the tour is the refinement for the big show that gets videotaped.
Well, and then too, though, you've got the heckling crowd. You got to be able to come back from that. I'm sure that a lot of comedians, when they're doing their stand up for the first time, they got to go through their process. But
the first time, the 30th time, the 60th time, there will always be people that give you bumps in the road. It's like we're driving down Route 66.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, as far as like being able to focus on what your act is, but then there are people such as myself. I'm sure that if I was to do stand up, that it would be rough just getting past the fact that I have a heckling crowd kind of thing. I'd be too focused on that, and so
actually, you'd be surprised. Heckling isn't so much the biggest issue; it's the silence.
Well, that too.
Silence is really
it
what
goes with anything. You want that fluid continuity kind of thing happen and everything, but
at least with heckling, it gives you like just something else to build off of. It may be a bump, but it's a bump you can roll over. If there's no road left.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the Joker, right? The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, and how he's up there on stage. Oh, sorry if nobody's seen it. He does his.
It's been like 2 or 3 years. I think that one's safe.
Okay. So he's up.
By the way, Bruce Willis dies at the end of Sixth Sense. Anyway, continue.
So Arthur Fleck, he's up on stage and he's doing his stand-up thing, and he's telling the jokes that he thinks is funny, and you're like what you said with the silence and everything. He wasn't connecting with his audience and things like that. But then in his mind, he's like connecting, everybody's laughing. He's even got his next door neighbor in the crowd. She's all having a good time. And so, it's just, there are people out there that struggle and that want to do, and then there will be those people that are there in the crowd that are like wanting to nudge you in some way, or, it's just, it's that whole being in front of a crowd thing. It's, for me, it's a little awkward. But I'm getting over that. So
it takes practice. But stand up, I hated stand up. I was terrified by it. I was garbage. But here's what I will say about Joaquin Phoenix, since you mentioned the Joker. He ad-libbed so much of his work.
I heard that.
Yeah. Him and Todd Phillips would sit there and they'd have a conversation ahead of time and be like, "This is what I pretty much want from you. Go." And he did. And he just ad-libbed the snot out of it, which pissed off some of his other co-stars in the film, including someone who's actually had 50 years of film experience, because one was built on rigidity and the other one was built on fluidity. So there was a disconnect between the two as a result that was very, very difficult to manage.
And that's why in the movie one gets shot and the other one doesn't.
Well, but then
that's not the reason why, but there might have been some thoughts on the sideline.
That makes for great chemistry, though, if you have that disconnect.
Yeah, and in this case, it actually worked out ironically pretty well, because they just let Joaquin just roll whatever he felt he wanted to do, and he won the Oscar for it because he was just like, "This is what I'm thinking. Does that work for you?" Yes. Okay, go. And the amazing thing about this is the weird part of it. They had typically 12-hour days on set, which this is a big budget film. Films in general never do 12-hour days. This one did. I came from one yesterday. They had a crew call at 7:30 in the morning. They didn't wrap till at least 11 o'clock last night. That is a typical movie. That is a typical movie. And the fact that, he would have like 7 o'clock in the morning, be wrapped by like 6, 7 o'clock at night. Everybody loved Todd Phillips for that, because it was one of those things that was predictable. It was structured, and it was not a lot of overlap or confusion. Maybe I want this. Maybe I want this. It's like, damn, we're going to go. Let's get this done. Get out. And the crew was just absolutely beside themselves with joy, because it was a manageable schedule. Who would have thought, by the way, a 12-hour day, 60-hour work week is a manageable schedule.
Yeah, but when you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
And you're in the New York, New Jersey area.
Are they doing what they love, or are they doing what they got paid for?
I think they started doing what they loved, and then they eventually got to do what they were paid for.
Yeah. I think after a while you pigeonhole yourself into a career path, and you're like, well, come hell or high water, this is where we're going.
Yeah, I think we need to do an interview. Bring on two people onto the show. One who's a year into the business and one who's 10 years into the business. And let's see how their opinions differentiate.
That could actually be a lot of fun. Oh, that could be a fun one. The rookie and the vet. And we could have it, we could have like, the greenhorn. You want the greenhorn actor, or you want a greenhorn crew person? Like that PA is like, this is my first day as a PA. I'm so excited. And then all the rest of them were just like, die.
Yeah, but for that, you don't have to wait like 10
beer.
years. You can just wait like 3 months, and you'll see the difference.
Well, that's the funny thing. It's like, I'm so good at this. Don't worry, I'll get you through this. I'm a pro as a PA. I've been here 9.5 weeks. I know everything there is to know at this point. I remember we did a production. There was a movie with one of the cast members, one of the red-haired lady from Field of Dreams, whatever her name was. And the production itself, this PA was so excited. He's like, look at all this food and all, it's so much. I've never seen so much. And it was like one tray. And it was like, really? It was just like a chicken and rice thing, which, okay, fine. Listen, I'm fine with chicken and rice. But when people are so used to what they're used to, with the setup that typically movies have, this woman was so excited to see like this one tray of food that was only fed like half the crew. By the way, the crew crew walked out because they ran out of money. So they had made the announcement that at like 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, if they don't resolve it, they're out. Because what happens in the film industry is they have an escrow account that is used to pay crew members in the event something goes south, that the crew still gets paid. They burn through the escrow account to continue to pay locations and everything else. So they burned through the extra funds that they had for the film. And then at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever time it was, crew was just like, all right, peace out, we're gone. And the movie just shut down. I don't think it ever started up again.
There's probably reasons why I never pursued film as a actual career.
Do you ever count your blessings in that regard? Do you ever count your blessings there?
Yes. Well, no. I'm always half and half. You know what ended up happening? I always went into film sets for independent films, and I'd meet the guys who did do it for a living. Mm-hmm. And I'd say to them, like, hey, I'm working in television full time for this gig here, but I really love to do what you do. And every one of them would always look at me and say, well, that's funny because I want to do what you do.
Grass is greener, maybe.
A little
it could
bit.
Be one of the, it's like the grass is greener on the other side. See, the side that, when you're out in wherever you happen to be, you're traveling from point A to point B to point C. But when you're inside a studio set, where you have the same setup every single day, there's not really a whole lot of work. It's very methodical. So when I did the Mel Robbins show last year, it was all very, very basic. The camera guys had their role. Everybody just did their thing. And then they were out, bam, 5 o'clock. Everybody was out with lunch. So.
Yeah, well, a news station that I worked for many years, I mean, we didn't even have to color correct the cameras every day because they were already set to the lighting temperature of the studio. We just came in, we set up the shots, and started the show at 5 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. I mean, things go wrong, but yeah, it's not like a film set where you're out there wiring like whole bunch of stuff, putting up a whole bunch of lights, getting everyone set in place.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I think it's all grass is always greener kind of a situation there. But okay. Wanted to move on to something else. This is completely 100% my idea and no one else on the show who probably actually would privately message me through Facebook right now. So 100% my idea and not at all Ryan's. We're going to be basically. I did want to talk about. I did legit want to talk about Matrix in this case, but he wants to talk a little Christmas too. So, Ryan, I want you to start off before we get to Matrix. I'm curious here. It is Christmas, Kwanzaa, Ramadonica. It is that annual time where we have all of the holidays all mixed in together at this point. Festivus comes up in 2 more days also. What's up with Christmas, dude? Talk to me Christmas.
Well, aside from Festivus, which I am doing my list for the airing of grievances on Thursday.
Pretty sure some of us are on there.
No, not guys. No, I promise you. No, JT, you're not on there. I will tell you that too.
No, JT,
I'm on there.
Robert's not on there.
No,
Robert's the only one that's made me money this year. So, I mean, I definitely can't be upset with him. But that aside, one of the things that always comes to happen around the Christmas time, which, aside from whatever movies you find on Netflix and whatever movies you find on regular television, whether it be The Grinch or Charlie Brown Christmas or any of that stuff, there is always the influx of movies that come into the theater for Christmas time, for everyone to go out and get together, go to the theaters, provided they'll still be open. I don't know. But we are getting a huge flux of them this year from all over. And of course, the big one that I think a lot of people have been talking about, maybe some have been anticipating, especially the gentleman over there who always likes to bring it up every time there's something to talk about, would be Matrix Resurrection.
Yes.
Regurgitation.
Matrix reboot, resolve, restain. I don't care.
Redo format.
All I know is the reviews for that just came out. Kind of mixed.
I heard
the best sequel so far. Personal and
that wasn't a high bar there,
as The Last Jedi.
I didn't hate the other
two.
I really didn't.
I didn't love the other two.
I didn't hate them. I figured they did what they could with it.
Reloaded was okay. I only watched Revolutions once when it was in theaters, and then I never saw it again.
I rewatched. I had to, but I am curious in this case. Tomorrow morning, about 10 a.m., I will be pretty much unavailable for a couple hours as I'm just going to plow through that one. So by the time we do the watch party for Hawkeye tomorrow night, I will have more than finished Resurrections. I keep saying regurgitation.
So, is it going to be on HBO Max?
It is.
Nice.
In theaters and HBO Max. So problem solved on that side. So again, my preference for watching a movie, not pay $20 for sticky seats, chatty people, and God knows what else has to go on there. So, I'd rather just have couch, coffee, go.
$35 stream.
Right. And if you are going to go to the theaters, there's at least 2 other movies coming out that would probably warrant the theater going experience. One being The King's Man, which I want to see that personally, and then Sing 2 for the kids.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I always liked about Christmas is that there was something for everybody. There's the hardcore sci-fi nerds, no offense, Scott, that will go see Matrix. There's the action adventure people that'll go see King's Man. There's all the kids that'll either be young enough to see Sing 2 or old enough to see Spider-Man for the 7th, 8th time, along with the other sweaties.
Though, now Omicron is in the United States. It is accounting for our area, I would say, is the greater New York City area. It's accounting now for 70% of the infections in this area. It may not be a good idea to go to the movies, at least for the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Right. So it's a question of...
I'm fairly confident I actually have Omicron right now.
Yeah. I would hope...
Legit, I actually think, after what I saw yesterday and what I dealt with, yes, I would not be one lick surprised that I have it in my system right now.
Well, get yourself checked, brother.
That's why we do this from our homes via Restream.
Ryan, you think I'm at home.
Well, they do that on sets anyway. You got to go and get.
Dude, you can't be doing that with a Santa hat on, man. No.
Yeah. By the way, my COVID test yesterday was in a van. It wasn't in a building. It wasn't in like one of the trucks that they usually have on set, where they have like one of the they usually have like one of the stage trucks set up. No, this was literally in a van. And I'm like, okay, you paid money for this. You have a production, you have a name in this film, and this is how you're doing it.
Well,
then I'm guessing for everyone else, there isn't necessarily anything in theaters that's going to maybe prompt you to take the risk and go to the theater. I know JT is very skittish.
Yeah. I mean, it took a lot for me to go see Spider-Man. I did, but I found myself etching more and more away from people as time went on. As like I looked at the seat schedule, I know that seat's empty.
I have 3 words for you. New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that not a movie subject, but it is going to be an interesting one for us here in the New York City area, because the mayor, as of this show, has not canceled the Times Square celebration. I think in the end he's gotta. And you know what? He's out of office. He has nothing to lose. I think he's going to
out
cancel
of office, so it doesn't hurt him personally.
Well, no, they're going to look back at him at the mayor who caused a whole bunch of people to go to the hospital with coronavirus.
I saw him a week and a half, not even a week and a half ago, at the NYCFC sermon. The audience in there booed the hell out of him.
Yeah, he sucks. He's the reason the New York City is returning to the 1980s right now.
In the stuff I've seen, dude, I can't believe some of the stuff I've seen. And like I said, we talked about that before, but yes, I would be shocked at this point if they canceled it, because there's so much money to be made from it.
Advertising and all
So,
that.
You need that Planet Fitness money.
If everyone's going to end up staying home and no one's going to venture into the theaters, and like Scott's going to do, he'll watch The Matrix at home on HBO Max. What do you usually watch during the holidays in the comfort of your home, with or without your family, with a blanket and some hot cocoa? What do you watch?
I rewatched Cobra Kai.
Last year was Batman.
Cobra Kai.
Hey, new week next week. Actually, we'll be talking about that. And I have an Eagle Fang karate T-shirt from season 3.
Nice.
I do. I'll wear it for the show next week. I guarantee it.
Serious answer. Last year is when Wonder Woman came out, and I was planning on watching that as my Christmas movie. And then I heard all the reviews, and instead I watched 1989 Batman instead.
I know what I'm watching right now, and you're gonna laugh. And please, you have my entire blessing on this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I'm watching a really, really, really bad Elvis movie right now. Kid Galahad.
Kid Galahad. Oh my god.
It's an Elvis movie where he plays a boxer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I decided earlier I'm going to watch this. I'm about halfway through it. It's not good.
No, it never was.
It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, I'm just going to try and ad lib a line here. It's like, and how are you this very day? I'm going to sing everything I say. In this one film, I think you're cute. Look at this guy and look at his boot. I'm going to fight and I'm going to punch. And then after that, I'm going to eat my lunch. I don't know what I'm going to say next. So I'm just going to end this. And that's the rest.
Hey, all right.
On the fly, I'm just trying to...
As if last Saturday didn't sour me on boxing, more so. This has done me in.
Yes, by the way, you mentioned that you knocked it so well earlier, basically on Sports Den, man. I talked to them afterwards, like, oh god, yes, that was so good.
But you know what? I saw Jake Paul trying to gain support for a Mike Tyson's fight in the future. I will buy that one.
Well,
if that happens,
do a Tales from the Film Set watch party on a Logan or Jake Paul fight. Yeah.
Well, what about you, Robert? Any Christmas favorites that you like to watch around this time of year?
Oh, give me a break, man! All those, like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and
all the claymation stuff. Nice.
The old classics, man. I love to watch those things.
Yeah, if I can mention Klaus on Netflix, if no one's ever watched that. It's a new one. It's only like 2 or 3 years old, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, Jason Schwartzman, J.K. Simmons. Good stuff.
The late, great Norm Macdonald. In a small role, but he was noticeable.
Oh, that's right.
Does it have Burl Ives singing? Does it have Burl Ives singing the lead song for the show?
No.
Who names your kid Burl? By the way? That out.
Burl Ives. He was the one that used to do the songs for those old TV shows. The old TV, made for TV, like Frosty the Snowman and.
Where can you watch most of those anymore? I thought
Frosty the Snowman was Jimmy Durante.
I remember as a kid, all those cartoons and everything would always be on like CBS and Fox tried to
They
make their
used to
own in
be.
there for a while. Now I feel like I never hear about them anymore. I know Charlie
Yeah.
Brown's like Apple owns it, so you can't watch that.
I own a couple of them. I don't really,
Nice.
I bought them off of like iTunes kind of thing.
I think
so.
I did. I think NBC or one of them did run the Charlie Brown special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of who owns like Rankin Bass at this point, which I think is either Amazon or Peacock.
Apple owns the Charlie Brown special. I think they made a deal where PBS can air it, but you have to pull out your antenna.
Right, but that's the
to see
house
that.
of Schultz. That's different from the Rankin Bass stuff, thankfully, because I would hate to think that all the Christmas classics are, being swiped all at once. But I know my sister is a big fan of A Year Without a Santa Claus because of Snow Miser and Heat Miser, and every time those damn songs come on, she has to sing them.
Mr.
Actually, it looks like
Miser.
Rankin Bass went out of business.
Went out of business?
Yeah, it looks that way. Yeah. That's poopy.
But as for myself, I like to go with the non-traditional ones, like Batman Returns. Batman Returns is technically a Christmas movie.
I don't disagree.
Like I said, I went with 89.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question. We're going to have to wrap this up in about 3 minutes. Lethal Weapon 1, Christmas movie or no?
Yes.
According to you, yes.
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 Because I mentioned Merry Christmas like 19 times in that. Now, by virtue also, you said Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Die Hard 2.
No.
I guess.
I mean, that would be a Christmas movie, although I don't think the Christmas stuff played into it as much in the second movie.
No. But they did have basically in the dub version of his famous line, it's like, yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
But I think that's what really has to denote a Christmas movie. Like, Christmas stuff has to play into the story. It can't just be like, oh, they're walking past a Christmas tree. That doesn't count. Now, like Batman Returns. If you
so you're saying
falling down onto the lighting fixture for the Christmas tree and dying, and then bats come out of the tree, that makes it Christmas.
Okay. So you're saying if John McClane had taught Han the true meaning of Christmas instead of dropping him out that window, it would have been a Christmas movie.
Look, I'm just saying, if he had been shooting up some people to like Frosty or Rudolph or here comes Santa Claus, and then it would have fit.
Why did you blow up that building? Well, I was redecorating it like a Christmas tree.
Exactly. So anyway, God, I would love to be able to continue this, but we're getting the production notes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. So got to wrap this up. Thank you as always to you guys. Again, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, whatever you guys celebrate. Tomorrow night on twitch.tv/Tales from the Film Set, we will be doing the watch party for episode 6 and the finale episode of Hawkeye. Now that we've actually had the deep dive breakdown on Spider-Man and the tie-ins that already exist between those two universes at this point, will we see someone at the end of Hawkeye that may ring a bell that we recognize? Or will it be one of those things where it'll just be mild disappointment at the end? Go ahead.
Or watch for the fact that I will have gotten my booster shot 30 minutes beforehand and see how loopy I really am.
You know what? Here's the thing. My booster hit me like a day or two afterwards and knocked me straight on my butt. The first two were fine. The booster, roughed me up. So hang in there. Be good. Be safe. We'll talk tomorrow. And for you guys, thank you as always. You guys are awesome. Again, for us, have a great holiday. Whatever you celebrate, doesn't even matter what you celebrate. You could be, agnostic, atheist. I don't even care. Just celebrate it awesome. Be happy. Be awesome. And take care.
Peace, yo.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Do, 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 do.
Da, 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 da.